staff of the RULE program, which is Penn State's Rural Urban Leadership Institute. And it got started. I have to say this is over a quarter century old at this point. JD, you probably know the exact number of years you've been doing this. JD is the program director, and Tara is the program assistant. Um, and I first got to know both of them when I first came to Penn State, which was in 2010. I think, as many of you know, I live more in the lower Susquehanna. Like, I could hike to the Lancaster County line. I'm in Lebanon County and Mount Gretna. But I would come up from time to time, and I started teaching an undergraduate course in 2011, my second year at Penn State. And I had no office up there, so I would come and squat in this conference room in the first floor of the Armsby building, and that's where Tara's office was. And so, yeah, I got to know Tara a little bit there, and then we were together on the same floor in the Ferguson building later when offices moved around a little bit in the department. And so got to know them, and then I got invited by them to speak at one of their institutes out in Pittsburgh about water quality issues in Pennsylvania. And then they said, hey, you could stick around and for the rest of the session. So I decided to, and I'm like, wow, I was just blown away by the content, the skill at facilitation, how engaged the leadership scholars were in the program. And it was like watching magic for me. I was like, this is just this is something that is just seems like a wonderful program to build leadership. And I started thinking also about my work in watersheds, that really building local leaders that can work across all these different we call them stakeholders, right? We use that term a lot, but landowners and partners and multi-sector, diverse viewpoints. That's really what's needed in this work. So we started talking about the idea of this. Maybe we could come up with some sort of watershed focused academy. And then we, very, very much lucked into Allyson's passion and skills as becoming the director of the Clean Water Partners. So anyway, that is a long introduction in terms of our history, but I will say that we are really fortunate to have JD and Tara's leadership facilitation skills. And a couple times through this session, mainly remote, they're very busy running their own program in various corners of the state, and both live in the State College area. So they're joining us remote tonight. And I guess I'll turn it over to them. Or Allyson, do we want to do your exercise first?
Thanks, Matt.
Yeah.
Let's go straight to them.
Okay, great.
Well,
Thanks, Matt. We've just been following you around from Armsby to Ferguson.
yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
What we'd like to do to get to know you, is to really challenge you right from the beginning. So I want you to think about for a moment what you most fear. I attended a party from someone who used to run the Arts Festival here in State College. Matt, you've been here for the Arts Festival. Mm-hmm. His name is Rick, and he always has very, very different parties. But this one was interesting. When you came in, there was a table and there were name tags, and you had to write on your name tag, what do you fear? Not your name. You had to write what you feared. Mm. And I wrote this on my name tag. Now, what's it like to be at a party where you don't know anybody's names and people are walking around with name tags that say intimacy, fear of intimacy, or Amish people? Why are you afraid of Amish people? So immediately it starts a conversation that has a bedrock in a bit of trust, because everyone is there for that same experience. So Tara and I would like to ask you to write down your word. And when my husband heard my word, he made several different versions of it, because he felt it at the time. His name tag was not, I can't tell you because it had bad words in it, what his name tag had on it. It was fear of blanking something up, he wrote down on his name tag. So what do you have? What do you have, Sarah? Do you have a name tag?
I would have to say environmental stress for vulnerable people in around the world and in the US. That's what I truly fear. That's a big
Thanks
one.
for sharing that, Sarah. Thank you. I was hopeful that this group would bring out some aspects of the environment and speaking today.
Well, I will share. I got home today and I saw 2 snakes beside my front door, and I was scared of them. But then they crawled through a hole behind my porch or something.
And you're more afraid of that.
Yeah, because it's like, oh, where are they going to pop up next? No, but I think even in my professional life and my volunteer life, I think I'm afraid of inaction and the status quo. I mean, I just hate that wherever I see it.
Thank you for sharing about the snakes and the status quo and the fear of people that wish to just maintain that, who aren't ready to change. Kenn?
I don't know that Ken's ready yet.
It's kind of like the status quo. I mean, my kind of watch cry on life is keep moving forward, and stopping, and then there is nothing else. That
Abby?
to me is terrifying.
Oh, I understand that. Thank you. Abby?
I have like a whole bunch of different ones that popped into my head. I'm trying to find the one that's like the most like middle of the road. I'd probably say being misunderstood.
Would bring up a whole host of other feelings if you felt misunderstood. Christina?
I was thinking about that. I'm in the same boat as Abby. I feel like there's a couple different ones. I think the one that most resonates with me is failure. Between just failure that I'm messing up with my kids, failure just in life that my path didn't end up the way I thought it would. I think I have so many things that I put on myself. I have so many big aspirations of who I want to be. And so I fear that I can't be that person, even though that's who I aspire to be. So there's just this this fear of failure.
Wow, that's a strong one. Is it Jackie?
Yes, it is.
Hello.
Sorry, I'm having my video off because I'm about to eat dinner and I don't want you all to see that. But I would say agree it's a collection of things. But some of my biggest fears are losing joy and zeal and vibrancy for life, which connects to Jenny's like inaction or fear of the status quo taking over, like just the routine and grind of life just stealing the goodness of life away, is something that I wrestle with in a way that I didn't before.
You expressed that very well. I could really see to the core of what you were sharing. Oh, thank you, Lori. I love the stone wall.
It's not my home. It's where I'm vacationing. Are you calling on me?
Sure,
Okay.
if you're ready.
This is me very, very personally. I fear the dismantling of EPA. That
Oh.
was my first professional home, and seeing what's happening as a result of the dismantling is nerve-wracking and keeps me up at night. So that's one of my biggest fears right now.
Thank you. I can understand why you'd feel that way. Matt, are you going to join us with your fear?
Sure. Yeah, I think it's a little bit of the fear of failure in that just not meeting all the promises I've made to everyone, especially in my professional life, and just not delivering on all the things that I want to deliver on. And there are times when keeps me up at night too, or I wake up and I can't stop thinking of my to-do list in the middle of the night.
Tara's nodding her head. She can relate.
Absolutely.
What are you afraid of, T?
Well, I also had one written down and then I changed it to, and I actually did write it down, stability for our youth.
Tara's a mom. She has 2 daughters. Allyson?
Yeah, I'm going to stick with that. My fear is not being around for my kids. I'm very grateful for my health, and I can't think of not having that.
Is there anyone that we've missed? It looks like we've covered everyone. So we're right now in the bedrock worst case scenario because we've just shared with what would be the worst case scenario. And you had been assigned a book that is supposed to talk about trust, and that is purported to be transformative. So I hasten to remind you that that's kind of the same mission of the Lancaster Watershed Leadership Academy. It's supposed to be transformative, isn't it? How is your progress? How has it been? I realize this is maybe your second or third Zoom meeting.
Third Zoom meeting.
Thank you. Could we be the engine of change, as you all are in your advocacy groups, if in fact we didn't have the selfless support of engineers who are moving the process forward? So Tara's gathered some key concepts in quotes from the book to stimulate your thinking and what you wish to share. And you're welcome to just speak out, not wait to be connected, because when we're in this little alley, we may not see who's there. So I want you to feel free to interrupt, for owning your own space, and for feeling like you're at the crucible of trust when you started in this leadership initiative. And whatever fears you have, you should be able to discuss those fears, particularly the environmental fears and those fears, with each other. And know that we share a genesis of fears that you may have personally or that you may have as a class. Tara, would you help us by jumping in with some of the research you've prepared?
Sure.
This
So
one's a tough one to start with.
It is. That's why I actually put it first. So there's 3 aspects that I'm going to cover with just some brief research that I did. It's the trust in our US government, the trust in media sources, and trust in US companies. So as you can imagine, the trust in our US government is fairly low. So research done by the Pew Research Center in April of 2024, so that was a year ago, 22% of Americans said that they trusted the government. A year prior to that, in 2023, 16% said that they trusted the government. And that figure in 2023, the 16%, that was the lowest measure in nearly 7 decades of that survey that they put out. How about trust in news media? Gallup's survey said that 31% of respondents said that they did trust media. 36% that they said that they don't trust media at all. And then I guess the other third is somewhere in the middle. So out of media sources, is there any source that you guys feel you trust one more than the other? Or do you feel trusting of news media, or maybe not at all?
It's funny that you brought that up. We were just having this conversation tonight, actually, because I had NBC News on, which I don't normally. And I was just actually having the conversation that every news media outlet has their own agenda. So I feel like there's no media source that actually tells the full picture of all sides. So like, truthfully, I'm like, I think if I want to hear more left-wing news, I know where to tune in. And on the opposite side of it, if I want to hear more right-wing news, I know where to tune in. But at the end of the day, I don't really know that I trust any of them.
Yeah, I agree. I feel the same way. And it's kind of a scary place to be.
Absolutely.
I used to work in media and saw it firsthand, so I can confirm that that is exactly correct.
Thanks, Ken.
And if you worked in media and someone said, I don't trust that message, what would you do to reassure them? Or could you?
I wouldn't. I was behind the camera. So I wasn't speaking. I was just observing everything that was going on, and more times than not, when the story went to air, it was about half of the whole story, whichever half told the story that they wanted to tell.
Thanks for sharing that perspective, Ken. I don't know about you guys, but do you feel like you trust your local media more so than national media?
I was actually gonna bring that up. Yes, I pretty much, which I don't think this is the ideal. If I, move things around, I'd like to be more informed in general. But in this season of my life, my priority is like LNP and reading that, and local organizers that I trust and agree with their view, their policies. Those are who I'm choosing to get educated from.
Thank you, Jackie.
But with that, I never take a story as the full truth, just some helpful information, and then, investigate from there.
Right.
I have to say, I can't live like that. I can't live by not trusting the media. I just can't go there. So, and I recognize, having put together various marketing campaigns, you can't tell the whole story. So the reader, I think, has to understand that this isn't the full story. It is what will fit in a column, or what will fit in 30 seconds, or a long one, 2.5 minutes. So I listen and try to listen to various sources. I find it always interesting that the headlines are always the same, regardless of which news media you're at. So somewhere along the line, there is some kind of organization that's putting out headlines. And I have to say, I haven't watched the news in 2 weeks. So I don't really know what's going on. And part of it is unsettling, but the other part of it is a mental health break. But
Mhm.
I just can't not trust certain media. And when it's BS, I just go, well, that's, that's certainly a slant. I trust journalists. I think they have an obligation to report the who, what, where, how, and why to the best of their ability. So I do think that there are news outlets that do try to do that. And being human, things are fallible, and there are retractions that are printed or corrections. So I am more hopeful than not when it comes to media.
Thank you, Sarah.
I think there are ways to parse through this, but they're exhausting. It's like almost all news media sources, I think, have that slant in the way they report. It doesn't seem like anyone, very few, just report the facts and the actual news. It comes with commentary, analysis. The cable news networks, it often just comes with theater that's people shouting over each other. You can't even hear what they're saying sometimes. Um, in all that, there is some news, but it just takes a lot of work to parse that through and probably look at different news outlets and realize what is the commentary and what is the actual news. And it's a chore and exhausting. So I hear Sarah's mental health break comment on taking a break from the news. It takes a lot of work to get through the modern news cycle and come out the other end without having your temperature go up a little bit.
Right, right. Yeah, thank you, Matt.
I totally agree with that. One resource that I have found that I really like is Google News, which is a consolidator site. So you might see a headline from one outlet, say CNN, that says tariffs imposed or something, and right below that they say additional stories, and you can just swipe through and see Fox's spin on it or NPR's spin on it, and so you have like a way to quickly look through. Admittedly, I'm not reading all of those articles thoroughly, but it is kind of telling to see the same factual underpinnings spun differently by different news outlets. So that's a resource I like.
Thanks, Lori. All right, let's move on and talk about some trusted US companies, and then we will circle back to trust. So this is kind of fun. So when you think about a clothing company that you trust, can you think of one that you would want to share that you think would rank high on the trust scale as a US company? This is for clothing.
Darn Tough Socks.
Nice.
So
they have
true.
100% lifetime warranty. If any part of the sock wears out, you send it back and you get a new pair for free.
Okay.
I mean, it doesn't get any better than that.
That's good customer service, isn't it?
It is.
So the second ranking trusted company for clothing is Nike. Automotive is John Deere. They're ranked number 1. Food and beverage, ranked number 2 is Coca-Cola. And then there was a whole ton, but I just pulled out some of the fun ones to talk about. Retail and wholesale, ranked first is Costco. So when you think about those companies, or maybe companies that you trust, what are the reoccurring themes that stand out in your mind? Maybe customer service.
Yeah, I support Costco in the fact that they are standing up and not removing the diversity inclusion part out of their operation. That place is a zoo practically every time you go there, but they really try to move the lines through and quickly and make it as easy for you as possible. I was at the customer service desk a couple weeks ago, and I couldn't believe what they were taking back that had been so used and was obviously a scam, but they cheerfully took it back and gave people refunds.
Mhm.
And I have found when I've gone to ask them for donations or discounts for different organizations that they are very good. I've also talked to employees who say that they are well paid in the scheme of things. Everybody would always like to be paid more and get more time off, but they consider it to be fair. So and they seem to be very good at alerting customers to not underperforming, unsafe and or questionable items that they either have on the shelves or they previously had on the shelves.
Okay. Okay, great. Thank you for sharing that.
Jenny, I appreciated how deep the dive was you just gave us. So you are making a decision about trust based on whether or not the employees that work for that organization seem to be happy there. What are the practices to customers in that space? So I'm just reflecting on what Tara shared about Nike, which I think more of as a fashion clothing than necessarily say REI, because Rule was just an REI. And very similar to what you shared, Jenny, they want their employees to take time off work, and they feature them in their ads when they're off. They feature all their vacations in their feed for advertising. So if you know and you watch that organization and the mechanics of it, it's not just where the items are placed when you're in the REI facility, but it's knowing that the trust is placed in the company by the employees who work there. So why wouldn't I wish to buy that brand ahead of, say, a Nike, which may be flashy, but an REI where they care about their customers and they care about their employees? So it makes me feel like every day our responsibility, whether we're at work or we're in advocacy for Lancaster Watershed, should be to build trust every single day. That should be our responsibility. And that was from the CEO of Mattel organization. So there are actually, as spoken about in the book, waves of trust. And some of you, as you gave your reflections, I could hear it come out. You said, I trust. And then others could say, I know someone there, relationship trust, organizational trust that Tara talked about, market trust, how well has this organization served the market that we trust, and a societal trust. And these are very different because there's divisiveness right now in how we trust. And is there always divisiveness? Is this something that will always be the case? Please reflect. What do you think? Are you accepting of some of these waves of trust, or do you think one doesn't belong? How do you assess yourself when you look at these 5 characteristics? So Tara's put together the core credibilities when you're trying to build trust, whether you're trying to build trust in people that you're serving or those you are trying to inform, or in Ben's case, when he was performing his job behind the camera. So we need to look at our own integrity, what our intent is, our capability, and what the results are. Penn State is pretty good at touching on all these 4 touch points, not only at the time that we have to do evaluations because we're all reporting about exactly those, but actually making sure that we understand what they mean. So what value it is to you as an employee of the university, or to you and in your scope of what you believe in. When you look at each other in your Zoom, do you feel you trust each other? I had the sense just joining you this evening that you do.
Yeah.
I can say that the book really struck home with me, and in fact, I am dealing with a company that really prides itself on just being so high in customer satisfaction, and that they do and they have definitely not demonstrated that to me. And I wrote them an email and I took quotes out of this book and used them to say and to make some of the points that I was emphasizing about how I did not feel that they were listening to me, nor was I being understood. And in fact, that they were making me feel stupid. And then all I asked for was honesty from them, which they still have not given me. But at the end of it, I said, how do you expect me to trust you and to go forward with this relationship when all these things have happened and never once have you said, you're sorry, we made a mistake. And
So
it's
they did not respond to you at all, Jenny?
they gave me a refund, but they gave me quite frankly, they lied about the reason that they gave me the refund, and they never said they were sorry. They made it sound like they were doing me a favor.
I see that. There's a quote coming up by Blaine Lee, and I think it says it so clearly. It's the very next one, T. Nope, I'm sorry. It's the one after that. Blaine Lee is the author. There it is. That's exactly what happened to you, Jenny. They violated your expectation. So when someone violates what we expect that we're due, that we're owed, that we've respected you and we respect this back, that conflict shows a list of violated expectations, and that's what you just described. So you can't respond to someone's violated expectations by giving them their money back because they violated you. They didn't just take money you thought they didn't deserve. They violated you. A violation requires more than that. Thanks, Tara, for finding that quickly. As soon as she said that, that clicked into place. We've all heard the criticism, he talks too much. And you see the rest of this line. So sometimes it takes a while to listen enough to hear that someone is really trying to listen. And no one said you listen too much, you don't talk enough. So it's only 7% of what we say. And this is difficult over Zoom. So if communication is 55% body language, how do you assess in a forum such as we have for Lancaster Watershed Leadership? How do you feel you assess that with each other? I'm curious.
I think it's in your tone of voice. how you speak about something. You can tell when someone is passionate. And a lot of us are passionate about different things. And sincerity, you can hear that through Zoom, even if you can't see body language, but you can see scrunched shoulders or glares or hear disdain or anger. And I mean, I think that comes across
Jenny, you're muted.
I think you just hit the mute.
Jenny,
yeah.
Oh, there you go. You're back.
Yeah. I just think it comes across well, and I don't want to talk too much, but because I don't want to be one of those person who says they talk too much. But listening is one of those things that I put on my leadership agreement that I'm trying to work on to be a better listener.
So
And
you're talking about your leadership contract, your individual leadership contract? That's awesome. We were going to touch base with that next, but I wanted to make sure that before we move to that topic, is there anyone that has anything they wish to say about trust or about any of the quotes or about the author, anything at all to share?
I wanted to share something about the recent slide on listening. I
Yes.
have a friend who's a fabulous active listener, and she repeats a lot of things back that I say to her, and it makes me feel really heard. Like I'll say, I don't feel so well today. And she'll say, so you don't feel so well. What's making you feel like that? Something like that. I just think it's a really nice way to engage. And I see she does that with a lot of people, and I think it's called active listening, but it's really nice. People feel heard by her.
Yeah. I love that, Lori. And this slide right now, I was going to say the eyes are, I think that is so important in terms of active listening and building trust. I think maybe we've all been in the situation where you're talking to someone, it might be a larger group setting. We just got back from a 3-day conference, like the banquet setting, the small talk. And if the person's like talking to you and scanning the room at the same time, that's just, those kind of approaches. You just know that building that relationship, that trust with those kind of approaches it's very difficult. Just looking someone in the eye as you communicate and not only speak but listen as well.
So with the last Lancaster Watershed Leadership class, we had a joint session with the state leadership program with them. And it was the noisiest event. That was very positive that it was noisy. I mean, not during Matt's speech, which was after, but the fact that there was such engagement and people were not looking past each other. They were learning about the differences between each other and the classes. So we'll talk about it at the end, but I want to plant a seed right now that because we're not having a Lancaster Study Institute, because we're having an international conference in Lancaster in September. And just as our rural alums are alums of the College of Ag Science, you are our alums in the College of Ag Science. And we invite you to come to your own county, but to hear speakers from all over the world. And we'll talk about this a bit at the end, but it's to say, we hope that this is a forum where people are greeting you by listening with their eyes and their heart, and the kind of person that you mentioned that really says back what you're saying to demonstrate that they've listened to you and they want to know more. They want you to get to the meat of what's troubling you because they want to be the person to help. And as the last line that Tara pulled here is, remember impact versus intent. So what Matt was referring to initially, intent was someone scanning the room to see, is there somebody better I can talk to than you? And impact is how much that could have hurt the person who was being overlooked. Or the reverse, if you felt as included as you described for the person who was feeding back to you what some of your words were. So I'm glad that you brought up your individual learning contracts, and though we won't spend a lot of time on them, we did want to touch base. And as I thought of that, I love that slide. I just love that slide. Tara found that for me. I picked this for us talking about individual learning contracts because sometimes people put in their contracts something that they feel they need to fix. When the truth is, we're all facing adversity in some perspective. It's all pretty different person to person to person. But look how long ago Seneca said this, in 49 AD. And ever since then, we are facing adversity, but it's because we have the need to prove ourselves. And we should. When you see each other in person, how do you celebrate? You've been in person, right?
Lots of smiles.
Lots of smiles. I love that. So were you online first or were you in person first? Help me to describe how
In person.
You
We
were in
had a
person. That's
kickoff
awesome.
in December, and the scholars, along with one of their family members or a trusted person that would be their accountability partner, came along.
Oh, I love that. You have an accountability partner. That's really good. That's extraordinary. Leadership is always a challenge, and you've described the challenges for yourselves as you are. It's always a proposition of growth. If you're going to, it's not an easy journey to be in a leadership program. So your contract or ILC or whatever you've decided to call it should be a challenge. It should not be the easiest thing. Oh, I was going to do that anyway, so I'm going to write that down and turn it in. It should be something that stimulates you to do different things to get different results. It should be something to say, well, here's where I am on the progress now. I'm not there yet. So where are you now? Can people share with us, please?
Even if somebody just has where they started, like what was your goal that you put on your ILC?
So I can jump in here. First of all, sorry it was late. I can't believe it. I had this on my calendar for the wrong time. Sorry I missed the first half of that. But just starting with mine, I knew for the academy, there was the Watershed content part. I definitely wanted to improve on that, but the biggest parts I had were improving like impromptu speeches, kind of like we talked to and that kind of thing. And also one of like, I even made like it a point to, and you touched on it, I didn't want to, in case you covered it, stop it, but was some of the things like Zoom things, like you covered how to use virtual tools and like 55% of, or whatever it was, that of body language. And I did specifically put, one of my goals is to like learn that space better. It's definitely, I made that like an intentional goal. Where I am now with it is I'm still honestly developing it, but those were where I started. Those were two places to start. And then like Allyson said, having somebody who's an accountability person.
Mm-hmm. That's good, Alex. I'm really happy that you shared that. I know that sometimes we're in Zooms and I've never really seen anyone's eye from one particular box. I've not seen that eye scan the rest of the boxes, really not look for our eye contact back. So, you know, I always think that that person's nodding. Oh, you opened your screen. Hi, Alex. It's so good to see your face. It's good. Thank you. So thank you for doing that. Know that as you go through the goal setting process, which is a challenge, it's meant to be a challenge. You're saying where you are right now, but you're also saying, where do you want to be? Where do you want to be? In that process, you're identifying what your opportunities and your threats are, and you're looking into the future. And that was actually a picture that I took in Santa Fe, I believe. You have to say for yourself, what are the steps and plans? And you have to make mistakes, and you have to be able to say, I made this mistake, and because of this mistake, I'm doing this better. So I think that you're pointing me to success, Tara, but a lot of us, we get caught up in what I call log jams, which are how much time and effort and money is it going to cost for me to get to where I want to be? And am I willing to invest all of the above, the time, the effort, the money? What am I going to get back from it? So it seems like an individual learning contract is like a simple structure, but the truth is it's giving me something that challenges me, that's saying that I have to improve, or I should improve, or I need to learn better than what I thought I already had when I came into it. And Allyson confirmed that your contracts are the same as our scholars' contracts. So I've always loved this quote from Helen Keller, who did not have ocular vision, but had vision. You have control. You are the control. Is there any way that Tara or I can help you on aspects of your individual learning contracts? A specific area where you are right now, where you're stuck, or feedback that you're requesting that can help you to move forward? Allyson, could you share your own when you were in Rule, when you first did an individual learning contract?
Interestingly enough, I'm so grateful for where we are now, that 3 of the members of this class are team members at the Lancaster Clean Water Partners. And my ILC when I was in Rule was to onboard the first one, the first team member. Like, it was just me. And I was like, we need help. I need another person. So yeah, it was great to be able to work with this small group through that process.
That's awesome. I'm going to share one from one of our Rule class members. When she was in Rule, she was a county commissioner, and she shared that her goal was to be the chair of the county commissioner. So first of all, she was the first female county commissioner in a very rural population. So people were already pretty skeptical about why she'd want to be the chair, because she had 2 young children at home. I mean, should she really be the chair? So she shared that with her group and her small group and Rule, and they were helping her work through the process of what she wanted. And at the time, the sitting state rep called to say he had reason to leave the seat, and he felt that the seat could be hers as a state representative if she wanted to run. And suddenly, she wasn't running for the chair of the county commissioners. She was running for the seat to be in the General Assembly. And her group and her class surrounded her and said, "We will help you." And she said to them, she was overwhelmed. She said, "We're not even the same political party." They said, "That doesn't matter. We'll help you. We may not be able to vote in your district, but we'll help you." And they did. They showed up. I saw Donna Oberlander balloons. I saw people selling raffle tickets. They all came, and she named her class. This was Rule 11. We're up to Rule 20 now. She named her class Rule 11 Rocks. She named it that day. She said, "This class, Rule 11 Rocks." She was very successful. She was the first female House Majority Whip first. She was many first, and she recently left that job to be a lobbyist. So I don't know what her individual learning contract is now, but I know what she started as, and know what you're starting at may just be a kernel, and that right in the middle of it, it may change. So there was a scholar who was working for the Secretary of Ag. Everybody loves our Ag Sec, Russell Redding. And he had some really high, lofty goals. And during that process, he thought that he'd spend all this money to go to school to be an attorney because he cared about the environment and sustainability, and he wasn't going to get a job. And the first job he got was the Associate Director for Public Policy at the National Association of State Departments in Agriculture. But the next one he got was the current title, which is Sustainability Director of Gov Affairs and Sustainability at the National Council of Farmer Cooperatives. So it's like he found his home. He said, I just took a roundabout way of getting to where I always knew I wanted to be. And he seems to have found happiness in that function. Would you like to hear about the international conference in your county?
Yes.
Have you heard of the name of it yet? So if you were going to hold something in Lancaster County, what would you call it? We called it Reuben. Reuben is a real word. It's a portmanteau. People say, "Oh, JD, you make up words all the time." I do make up words. I didn't make up that one. I wish I had. But that word was made up in 2017 as it came into the dictionary. So many people must have uttered it before as it came into the dictionary of both rural and urban. In the 5th most populous state in the United States, is Lancaster County a rural or an urban county? You tell me, you live there. Elucidate us.
I have to say that I lived on Eastern Long Island, and you have to go through Metro New York in order to get off Long Island to get to Lancaster. And there are roughly, I don't know, 12, 15 million people in a very concentrated area. And I came to Lancaster with my 2 little kids. I left Riverhead, New York on Eastern Long Island, and there was a police officer who rode the bus, and I think there were 5 5th grades in the Riverhead School District. And I thought, okay, this is going to be great. Moved to Lancaster. I moved to Manheim Township, and I find out that there are 5 elementary schools, each of which who has like 3 5th grades. So it was shocking to me that I moved off of urban, and Riverhead is not even urban, but urban Long Island, to come to Lancaster, only to find out that the graduating class in Riverhead, New York would be smaller than the graduating class in Manheim Township. So it is safe to say that Lancaster has roughly, I think, 600,000 people in the county.
Yeah.
Somebody help me out with that.
Yeah, that's right.
Wow, I didn't know that number. Now we have that.
Yeah,
We can
yeah.
say that to people. So are you rural or are you urban?
We fit right there in urban. When I
Yeah.
talk with people, I tell people that I can be sitting at an Amish kitchen making a presentation with 7 kids and 4 adults around the table gazing at my computer and being marveled by that. And I can walk out and send a spreadsheet via Wi-Fi to somebody that's, 15 miles away who can use a computer and a pivot table. So it's really remarkable, the resources and the cultures that we have right here.
Mhm.
It's a great place to be,
It's a
in
great
case you
mix.
can't tell.
Hey, Tara, I have something I could share real quick if you don't mind.
Yep.
I just pulled this up because I guess I gotta send a share request here to someone. Is that to you, Allyson?
To Tara, Tara's.
Yeah. Okay. Awesome. Yeah, this is I'm working on a slide deck for something next week. We're actually hosting Dean Troy Ott, JD and
Oh.
Tara, down in the
We
lower
love Dean
Susquehanna
Troy.
to see what we're doing in our lower Susquehanna watershed. So this just describes why we're where we are. And this is a blow up of our watersheds. Right there's the county line, but the browns and the yellows are the farmland, and the reds and the pinks are the urban. So
Oh my gosh,
it's
wow.
quite a mix. And that's only a quarter of the county, really.
So
Wow.
Matt, in a public forum, you'll share this information at Rurban, won't you?
Yes. Yes.
So we're asking you in a public forum where it's really hard to deject us.
I love it. Send me your slide, Tara.
Yes, perfect. Thank you.
Good, it's good. Know that the Center for Rural Pennsylvania classifies what I think of as rolling agrarian landscapes as an urban county for Lancaster County. That's how you're classified in the state map, just so you understand that. And we wanted others who were coming to understand in advance. And someone say, well, what does that mean? Is somebody coming from Ohio? Does that mean international? Allyson, go ahead. I see your hand up.
I feel like I have to ping Alex with this question because he's been dealing with all the MS4 comments lately, and they only apply to an urban area. They used to. The new permit is different. And so, yeah, Alex, you've gotten so many comments all over the place about this lately, only related to stormwater, JD, but that's one of the qualifying features.
Yeah.
So go ahead, Alex, talk about that.
I was just going to elaborate on that, but yeah, it's kind of the same thing you're talking about though, because the issue is they're determined urban by certain criteria, but they're really rural, like they're rural areas though. So they might meet criteria in one area. But yeah, so that's part of the challenge you can say in Lancaster too, is or opportunity, however you look at it, is having those landscapes so close, intersecting like that. But I think I would answer that question differently, depending on what I did last, whether it's urban or rural. But I feel like people think of Lancaster outside of here and they think rural, but I live in a downtown though, so it's tough.
Well, know that we're showing this to people from all over the world, little bits of these slides, and it will be developed as we get all the speakers in. So we're looking also for volunteers. RULE is part of the leadership initiative that was started in 1970 by Kellogg, the same cereal company. It was one of the first states selected. And the program in Pennsylvania, Matt, this answers your question of how old the program is. It started in 1970.
Oh, wow.
It had a different name. It was called Public Affairs Leadership Program then. And the sessions ran just a little over a year. It was called PALP. That's a hard name to say because it sounds kind of like pulp, but not really pulp. PALP, P-A-L-P. And Tara and I were just writing an article because we lost some members of the first and second class recently. That would not be unusual because it was from 1970 when it started. So it was only a couple of years after the money ran out at Penn State from the Pell program that PALP alums brought up a leadership program coming back and being part of Penn State and actually being part of Penn State Extension. So that name that came was Rule. And shortly after it came back, just a few years after, there was a sense that we needed to have significant funding that's based within the Commonwealth. We needed a House bill that mandates that there's a leadership program in the state of Pennsylvania, and we got it. And the young lady that's next to Governor Casey to the right, that's Representative Ruth Rudy, and she passed away this week. And she was one of our beloved alums. And she, along with other alums who are in this picture, many, and we'll send an article out and Allyson can share it with you because Allyson will get it. We're also members of the Rule class, including the Secretary of Agriculture, who's in this picture as well, who was the secretary a very long period of time. I think it was almost 8 years, was it, T? For Boyd Wolf. And he was in PALP 3. So most of the people here were in PALP 1 and 2, or in Rule 1 or 2 or 3, because it was this long ago. But these are people that made things happen for the leadership program because it enabled Pennsylvania to accept that we have a program mandated by law. Sometimes when there's no budget, we don't get money from the budget. It doesn't mean there's no program because it's mandated by law in Pennsylvania. So we usually make it in those tough times. What else do you have for me, Tara, there? About 3 times a year, other states that are in the International Association of Programs of Ag or Rural or Urban Leadership want to come to Pennsylvania, and they really want to go to Gettysburg. A lot pick Lancaster, and we'll talk about that next. But this was the class from Illinois. And when they came, the class from Illinois, they said, do you want to have a couple volunteers there? And I said, you have to really give me an exacting number. And they said, yeah, we have a hard time getting volunteers too. And I said, no, if you give me an exacting number, I'll have more volunteers than the number you give me. So give me a number so I don't overwhelm your class with our alums. So they gave me a number and we had 3 more than that number and they were happy for it. They said, this has never happened. We don't know of programs where more people come than the next that are in the next class, which we have that. We're rich in that respect that people want to give back. So this was developed specifically for this conference so people could see the proximity both to Dauphin and Lancaster counties. And we also developed for those that are flying in from great distances. Right now, I'm courting Australia, Scotland, Canada, because that's where the other leadership programs are. And I feel really strongly about Australia. We have an excellent speaker, and I hope that some of you rush to meet her or may even consider a book that she's written. This is a quote from Edmund Bonjour, who is the director of Oklahoma, who's had the worst times with weather in his state right now. And he loves Pennsylvania. So though he's not a graduate of a program, he wants to come to this program, and we're drawing a lot of directors because they like to come here. Thanks, T, for keeping that up. That would include Edmund and the director from Alabama as well. And that's in Pittsburgh. Do any of you know Madra? She lives in Lancaster.
Yes, I do.
Jackie knows Madra. Tell me how you know her, Jackie.
Yeah, so my organization, or the organization I work for, not mine, is called So We. And so Madra works for one of our grant partners. So we receive funding from her. And she's very passionate. We have, as a little Watershed shout out, we have community trash cans as one of our initiatives. And so she's been really passionate. We had one near her get removed accidentally. And so she sent us like the most lovely email once it came back onto the street. And she was like, yay, our trash can, which is just such a Watershed thing to do.
Well, that's awesome that you have that relationship with her. She's one of the co-chairs. These are both 2 Rule alums that happen to be in the same class. has anyone met Stephanie Shirk? I know Matt probably has met her because she was in extension for a number of years before she went to work for the Secretary of Ag, currently in the Business Development Center. But Stephanie and her husband, Jim, own a very precious farm. It's called Silver Valley Farm. So it means it has an historical designation. And the first night of ILAC will be at the Shirk Farm. And we'll have Pennsylvania foods while we're there. So it's going to start in the evening, knowing it will take most people coming in from out of state quite some time to get here. The Australians are saying they're coming in a week before, and I better be able to get them to Lancaster from State College, but that's okay. We'll do that. We could do that. So know that that's where it will be based. And that, Tara, what was the name of the movie that you recently saw with Doug?
Oh, In the Dark?
Dark.
Oh, yeah. The movie In the Dark was filmed at the Shirk Farm, Silver
At their
Valley.
farm. It was
Mhm.
filmed at their farm.
Yes.
And
Yes.
Alex, her farm is about a block away from Cedar Creek.
And just so you know, my husband takes people back and forth to the airports and stuff. He
Oh my
does it.
goodness. We need
And so, and so if you need someone to take people, pick people up at the Philly airport or BWI, he will gladly go and bring people back and forth and stuff and
What
make sure
about
they get.
Harrisburg, Jenny? A lot of people are saying they're just going to fly into Harrisburg.
That's fine. He will do that too.
That's awesome.
He just doesn't want to go to New York.
Oh, I totally understand that. I totally understand. So that you've made my day. You made my day in sharing this information, but I hope that all of you, and you've all probably been to this facility. I've never stayed there before, so I welcome that experience with you. But know that this is so close, and we really want you to be included, and we count you as our alums and have always counted you as our alums.
Oh, that's great. We have a
Tremendous
female
opportunity.
mayor too,
I
who would
heard
be
that.
happy to welcome everybody, and a female county commissioner. Alice is wonderful. Deneen is wonderful.
Awesome. Do you know if any of those names are on our list yet, Tara? We may want
The
to.
mayor is, yeah.
The mayor's on the list.
Mhm.
That's good. I thought the mayor was. And I know your state rep, Ishmael, is that what people call him?
Yeah, Izzy.
Yeah, he will be speaking, and one of your senators. So of course, everyone knows the AgSec, and he's one of our favorite speakers. So he's always included in a function. He just spoke recently in Gettysburg to the current Rule 20 class. So this is a comment that a Rule 20 scholar made. We're big on evaluations in Rule, and the speakers are saying that they feel like it's a Christmas gift or a gift when they get their evaluations because they're so definitive. So Kathy McGowan is the Aussie woman I was telling you about. I always thought that Kathy McGowan was like the Lauren Bacall of Australia. She's was an independent member of the Parliament of Australia, the first independent member. She's from what we would pronounce it as the Indigo Valley, but in Australia, they pronounce that Indi. So you'll hear another Aussie say she's from Indi. You've heard of Mr. Smith Goes to Washington, about how someone unlikely goes to the Capitol. Kathy's written the book, Kathy Goes to Canberra, and that's how she would go on the motorcycle to Parliament, where I saw her there in Parliament, where she was serving, and where I've been to her farm, and she farms sustainably. So I thought that your class would be especially interested in meeting this gem of a woman who's going to be coming to Pennsylvania.
That's fantastic.
So if you're interested, I would suggest that you get that book. I'm sorry, if you don't mind to back up just one T so they can see the title again. It's probably not at a local bookstore, but it is available through Amazon. I prefer buying through a local bookstore, but know that if you have it, she'll sign it. It's very difficult to travel from Australia and bring a case of books, but it might be easy to promote her in advance. So we're going to be doing a flyer about it. Also, Kathy has won the AU, it's the Order of Australia. I think it's OA, it's called. And that's the equivalent of our Presidential Medal of Freedom in Australia. 2 women are coming from Australia that have the Order of Australia. So we're excited about the Aussies coming. This gentleman is from the Erie area. His name is Brandon. He's done a lot of work for Rule in the last couple of classes, and he actually just spoke. I'm a trustee for Penn West, which is an integrated 3 different universities as one. And he was the icebreaker the first time we all met, all the vice presidents and the president and all the trustees from 3 different places. And we were completely at ease with each other at the end of his presentation. So he does something called conscious conversations, and it does help to be a melter. He's a melter. This gentleman was the director of the leadership program in Canada, Ontario, Canada, for a number of years. And one day he was driving around the Peace Bridge, and he called to say that he got a call from Trudeau, who had asked him to be a senator. So I don't know if you're familiar with politics in Canada, but you don't have to run a campaign to run for senator. If you're a senator for life or until you're 75. And he said, why did you want me? And the prime minister said, because, sir, you know about agriculture. So I need someone in the cabinet that understands agriculture. And this guy, Rob Black, who loved being a leadership director, was torn. I said, you have to take it, Rob. I mean, it's a once in a lifetime chance. You have to take it. And I said, what does your wife think? Of course, the first thing I think of is, what does your partner think? He said, well, I'll let you know after I call her. I said, you call her right now. Call her right away. So he has been acting as a senator. I like to live stream when he's online. Occasionally he'll come to me and ask me to write things to help him writing a document for perhaps the International Association when they were in Canada and they were in Ottawa to watch him as he spoke there. But he's going to come as a speaker. We're going to do a Senate panel with Kathy and Rob and some Pennsylvania senators as well. This gentleman is quite the speaker. He's a 4-star. He worked for the Secretary of Defense in his next to last appointment. And that's one of his favorite quotes, is the currency of leadership is trust. Because I have a closeness to this person and he's family, I can't talk any further about him. Tara could, though. That's who most people in Lancaster call Izzy.
Yes.
Madra can't say Izzy, but I'm told that's how people call him. Is that true?
Yes.
So
Yes.
he's confirmed as of yesterday. So that's good. Senator Martin also is confirmed. Go ahead, T, you take over.
Sure. I believe this gentleman was a speaker for your one of your sessions.
Yes.
So he is a Roll alum, and he is also the Rock Lidditz coordinator for us. So we will be attending Rock Lidditz likely on that Thursday. And another farm that you may be familiar with, the Brubaker farm.
Yep, I am.
Yep.
Okay, great. Luke is one of my absolute favorite people on this planet. So it is a treat to go there and spend time with him and his sons and the rest of his family.
So know that they won the Leopold Award, which is an agricultural award given to farms that are sustainable. So that was a high award for the Brubaker farms. It was a couple of years ago.
This is our class on the wagon at their farm. This was 2 years ago.
We think we have an amazing capital, and we're going to take people on a tour of the capital as well. There will be an urban farm as well as part of the tour. It's interesting to us that we have scholars that have never been to the Capitol before, their own Capitol, much less the US Capitol. We take them to both in Roll. This will help you to get a feel for Roll, just a couple of quotes. And I know we promised Allyson that we would finish at a certain time frame, and we're running to the razor's edge of it. This is the current class and they're anxious to meet you. They want to meet you and they're very energetic.
Mhm. You may recognize Kate in the front row with DEP.
Kate Brisaw.
Kate Beats.
Kate Beats. Gotcha. Oh,
Yes.
yes.
Kate Brisaw was in the
She was
last
in the
class.
last
so
class,
Good
wasn't
call,
she?
Matt.
Yeah.
Is
Well,
Walanda in that?
She
Yes.
is. You know Walanda, Jenny.
Oh, yeah, she and I worked, well, I was a hearing commissioner and on the board of the, oh Lord, where I'm having a senior moment. They just, the Human Relations Commission.
Mhm.
Okay.
And now she's the head of the Brightside Community Center. And in fact, I had lunch with her former boss today. But yeah, and she was a mentor in the mentoring program that I'm involved in.
Oh. So see, you already know people. You already have connections.
Right
So
next
what
to
we'd
our
like to do
building.
is to send all of you their contact information. And any of you that have an interest and say, well, I'd like to contact this person, you can. So that you can reach out to them in advance of the conference and certainly reach out to us as Jenny just has about shuttling airports, but about if you're interested in volunteering and you wish to see what the committee lists are, we'll share that with Allyson. Allyson, I'm sorry I took 3 minutes over of time we promised you.
You've sold us, JD, Tara.
Totally fine. You're talking about people coming to Lancaster. We all like that.
Very exciting.
Well, JD and Tara, thank you for sharing pieces of trust building with us and quotes of inspiration and samples of leadership that you have experienced and inspired. I know that our scholars have enjoyed the book so far. So I want to open it for a few minutes of questions. You guys have JD and Tara this evening. So what do you want to know about leading this kind of training or this kind of how the program works at a state level? Anything you want to dig in a little bit deeper?
I will say that I am humbled that the fingers are stretching just so far. I had no idea when I signed up for this. Talk about trust. Just jump in both feet, and here I am. Wow, surrounded by amazing, amazing people. And I so appreciate that whatever, pushed me to do this is doing it. Yeah, I'm sure there will be several of us volunteering. Count me in.
Hey, thank you.
Thanks, Sarah. I just had a similar email from one of our scholars. So we are also 3 study institutes in, and this gentleman works in local government, and he kind of said the same thing. Like I wasn't really sure what I was getting into, and I wasn't really sure at the first or second, but I'm sold now, and I'm glad I'm in role.
Well, it works because of all of you. It works because of you, Sarah, and willingness to dive in with us. It's a collective.
Yeah.
So we're hopeful to bring about 100 people into Lancaster with this conference. That's our goal.
Yeah.
Sounds good. Feel free to send me any documents or contact information or things that you want me to get back out to the group, and we'll make sure we do that. We'll be in person at the end of April and then have another virtual session in early May, and we'll keep going with that pattern for our year, but happy to share things in between.
Good, great. We'll send you the class bio sketches.
Okay.
Email addresses, and know that Madra, who some of you already know, is a leadership team member for this class. So she's often helping others in the class. She's particularly close to Walanda in the current class. So, and someone from the Y, you all know her, don't you? The person at the Y.
Millsy's in the class.
Millsy's in the
City.
class.
Yeah. Any final questions for our guests this evening?
Well, thank you so much.
No problem, Beth. We heard you had a wildlife call tonight. Yes. Thanks for joining.
You're welcome. I just pulled in the driveway, so I'm sitting in my vehicle in the dark.
Did you save a wildlife?
Yeah, so I volunteer with Wildlife in Need PA,
Mhm.
and there was an ill black vulture in Lebanon.
Ah,
So I went to the call and met another lady that took the vulture to Raven Ridge.
I
wow.
was there yesterday. He is going to have company. Baron von Vulture is already there.
Oh my goodness. I'll
He
send you
is.
some.
He is a black vulture as well. I had 12 students from Lampeter Strasbourg there.
Goodness.
I love that you're on a first name basis with vulture families. That's so cool.
Yeah.
Well, JD and Tara, one of the things that the
Oh my
class said
God.
they wanted to do
Did you
more
see
of
Beth- I'm
was,
sorry. Did you see Beth's pictures, Allison?
oh, pictures.
She just sent them by chat of the vulture.
Oh my gosh. Wow.
That's
Thank
great.
you, Beth. That's great.
You're welcome.
Well, we're going to do a rapid fire wrap up because one of the things that the class said that they wanted to do more of was practice after our impromptu speeches. The timing was one of the things that people wanted to be able to practice a little bit better. And we have given out the persuasive speech assignment. So that's next. That's coming up. So they'll have time to practice that one. But I'm going to give them a quick rapid fire wrap up in the impromptu speech style. So I promise this should not be intimidating for anyone, but I'm going to go around the Zoom room, call your name, and give you a quick question. This is like a gut check, gut answer. This is not a think through. This is like 1 to 2 sentences, not even 2 minutes on this one, guys. So with thinking of goals for the year, thinking of how we're already running through the spring season, Kenn, you're the first one on my board. So a bad habit that you're going to break this year.
Ooh. Oh my gosh.
There's
So
no
much for
wrong
so much
answer.
for like my instinct. Impassively listening.
Ooh. Okay. Thanks, Kenn. Jenny, you're up. Oh, go ahead.
I'm not sure I gave the right wording, but that's okay. Go ahead. Go ahead. Keep going.
Jenny, you're up. A new skill that you'd like to learn.
Wildlife rescue.
Yes.
Excellent.
Yes. On board, on board.
All right. Abby, you're up. A person I hope to be like or be more like.
Oh, that's an interesting question. I think I, in some ways, would like to be a little bit more like my husband because he is a therapist and a very good active listener and good at asking people questions. So those are some traits that I hope to garner from him.
Thank you for sharing. Alex, you're up. A good deed that you're going to do.
I am going to get I have a sister's birthday coming up, and I am notorious for either just not getting things done on time for her birthday. So I'm going to send her a card send it in the mail before her actual birthday.
Excellent. Christina, you're up. A book that you'd like to read.
Oh, good question. I don't, you know what? Actually, I don't have one specifically in mind. I have, but I would love to finish one of the books that I've started. I tend to buy a lot of like self-help books, and then I read bits and pieces and kind of combine them all. So I would love to just finish one of those at a shot.
Thanks, Christina. Beth, you're up next. A place that
Okay.
you'd like to visit.
A place that I would like to visit.
Maybe outside of your car.
I would like to go to Herkimer Diamond Mine in New York.
Wow. I'm going to need more on that later.
Okay. I'll put it in the chat.
All right, Michael. Michael, you're up. A letter that you're going to write.
I'm going to write a letter to my grandma. It's been a while since I've written her a letter.
That's great.
Awesome.
Is she local?
No, she lives in Florida.
Okay. All right, Jackie, you're up. A new food that you're going to try.
Great. Sorry, my headphones just died. Can you all hear me?
Yes.
Yep.
Okay, a new food. Well, I am so excited that Callaloo, which does Trinidadian food, is back. And so they're not brand new to me, but they just launched like a crazy awesome breakfast sandwich that I'm excited about. So I'm gonna say Callaloo.
Oh man, you just tell me when. Breakfast sandwiches are my favorite.
Right? They said it's spicy.
Well then. All right, Lori.
Yep.
A mentor that you're interested in getting to know, or a mentee that you'd like to pursue, invite?
Wow. That is hard. Mentor is probably the executive director of my organization. She is one of the best leaders I've ever met. She's significantly younger than I am, so I think that's kind of cool. And I have only worked there a little over a year, so I don't know her very well. So I don't know if she'd be a mentor per se, but she's certainly a good role model as a leader.
That's awesome. Thanks, Lori.
Mm.
And Sarah, one accomplishment from yesterday that you are proud of.
One accomplishment from yesterday. I would say that that I am knocking on doors, never expecting to have one open, and sometimes they're just too easy, and I'm just speechless. So yeah, I had an important agricultural call with a highly influential farmer, his daughter actually, which could just help me professionally and help my, little budding industry go to town. So that's a major, major accomplishment. And I was thrilled and still am afraid to follow up because I'm sure that door has closed.
Can you share what your industry is?
I'm in the hemp industry. So yeah, when your people come, we can talk about hemp and agriculture. There's a lot of us. So
Awesome.
Thanks, Sarah. Well, I appreciate you all, and I have to tell you that you are not alone in this work of impromptu speeches and having time limits. You'll laugh, I think. I was invited to be on a panel, and I have 6 minutes. So just like you guys, it is really important to get your message tight, get it clear. And I was reflecting on what I have learned from you all recently about, I could talk lots of details, I could give examples, I could talk really fast and try to get as much out as I can in that 6 minutes. It's like, no, what is the thing that they asked me to talk about, and just do it well. So thank you for how you continue to inspire and show us what is important to you and how Watershed and leadership are combining in your worlds to do that. JD and Tara, thank you for being an inspiration for us tonight. And we look forward to the next time we get to be with you.
Yeah, we're excited about meeting you again in advance of the ILAC Urban Conference. We'd like to see you again, and we're excited to share things with you. And I'm happy to hear of your journeys. Good luck, all of you. I know you'll do great.
Thanks,
Thanks a
JD.
lot.
Thanks,
Thanks,
Tara.
everyone.
Thanks, Allison. That was a great exercise.
It was.
That
you.
was great,
Excellent.
Allison. Yeah.
Okay, Allison, you're going to come on the road and do that for rule next.
Sign me up, JD.
Thank you. Good night, everyone.
Bye-bye.
Bye all.
Yeah.
Thank
Thanks.
Bye-bye.
you.
Thank you.